Okay, so I dropped 700 bucks on an Easter dinner and they all just laughed at me. That's when I cut off the Wi-Fi, grabbed the smart TV and bounced, leaving them all freaking out in the group chat. My name's Andrew. Growing up, I always felt like the extra kid in my dad's second family, and I'm 31 now. That's just how they made me feel, you know. I'm from his first marriage. By the time I was 12, he'd married my stepmom, Denise, and they had 2 kids of their own. My mom passed away when I was 10. We looked like a normal blended family on the outside, but it felt like living in a house where all the doors were locked from the inside. Denise would always give me this polite smile whenever she saw me, but that was it. My half-brother Ryan, he's 2 years younger than me, made it clear from the start that I wasn't really family to him. My sister Ellie, she usually went along with him, though sometimes she seemed to want to connect, but then Denise would give her a look and Ellie would freeze up again. I learned how to sneak away from that house when I was a teenager. My dad was never really mean, just kind of passive. Denise would go along with whatever if he wanted me excluded. Whenever I pushed Ryan too far, he'd just sigh and say, "Let's keep the peace." I figured out early on that I had to earn my place in that family, so I did. I got straight A's, worked part-time jobs, and earned scholarships to pay for college. And after I graduated, I landed a killer job in tech. When the pandemic hit, I was the tech support guy for the whole family. I got everyone hooked up to the internet, taught them how to Zoom, even helped Ryan revamp his resume so he could snag a work-from-home gig. Not a single thank you. I know it sounds crazy, but I kinda hoped for one, even though I knew it was a long shot. I was weirdly optimistic, thinking maybe if I just did more, helped out more, they'd finally notice me. You know, stop treating me like I wasn't even in the family photos. So when Denise texted the group chat about Easter, "Hey, could you tidy up before everyone gets here? Confirm with the caterer. The kids loved that egg hunt last year." I didn't hesitate. It was so casual, like she was just handing off half her holiday to me. Sounded familiar, that invisible job description. But she said she'd Venmo me, so I said yes. I booked the caterer myself and paid the $700 deposit, yeah, $700, up front. She never paid me back. All she said was something about the tablecloths being wrinkled in last year's pictures. So I got there early. Cleaned the place, scrubbed the bathroom till it sparkled, set up the chairs, even ironed them. I did all that while they were out getting their nails done or shopping for matching pastel outfits. By the time everyone showed up, I was completely wiped out, but I still plastered on a smile. I knew I looked good in photos, so I put on a nice shirt, even those shoes that always pinch my toes a bit. I handed out Easter baskets, helped the kids hunt for eggs, and kept tabs on the candy so nobody would get upset. Denise was sipping a mimosa on the patio, just watching, never lifting a finger. She'd nod vaguely at whatever Ryan was yakking about crypto, his new car, how regular jobs are for suckers. My dad was grilling. Out there, I just kept smiling. Dinner was a buffet. I made sure the line moved along, kept the drinks flowing, even helped Ellie carry a tray. But when Ellie's wrist started aching, Ryan finally looked up from carving into his ham. When I finally sat down, hardly touching my food, he smirked. "Funny how you think any of this makes you one of us," he said. He thought it was hilarious, but nobody else did. My dad kept slicing ham like he hadn't even heard. Denise didn't even look up. Ellie just gave me a quick, sad look before turning away. Something inside me just cracked, not with a bang, not suddenly, but slowly. Like those tiny threads on a button popping one by one, a silent final break. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I just sat there for a while, staring at my untouched plate, at those roast potatoes I de-arranged so perfectly that morning. Then I laughed, a quiet, hollow laugh at how stupid it all was. Not a happy laugh, not at all. It was pretty messed up, you know, that I'd busted my butt for over a decade, only to find I wasn't even supposed to be at the table. So I just got up. Nobody seemed to notice right away. I grabbed my laptop bag and headed down the hall into the coat closet. It wasn't there for work calls today, like when I brought it in this morning. I went out to the driveway and popped the trunk of my car. Inside, I had a folder, everything neatly labeled with bank statements, contract copies, and receipts. I took it out. Back inside, I walked right past the dining table, past Denise's perfect centerpiece and Ryan's fake, smug grin. I didn't say a word. I walked straight to the laundry room fuse box and killed the power to the media center, the outside lights, and the main kitchen. After that, I started collecting all my stuff, taking my time as I walked out the front door. I wanted to feel every second of taking back what was mine. It wasn't about getting even. Not yet, anyway. It was about seeing things clearly. That feeling you get when you quit hoping you'll be picked and just pick yourself. Unfolding a list I made weeks ago but never thought I'd actually use, I opened the trunk, unless they really pushed me. Well, Ryan did the job with just one dumb sentence. The outside heater was first on the list. Dad said Denise was always freezing at the outdoor dinners, so I bought it for Christmas last year. I gently carried it out and put it in my car. After I used the little wrench I keep in my emergency kit to disconnect the gas line, I heard the back gate start to squeak open. It was Ellie. "Andrew," she said, her voice quiet and careful. "What are you doing?" I just kept going, taking back what was mine. She took a hesitant step closer. "Wait, are you okay? I mean, Ryan was being Ryan." I stopped and looked right at her. "You laughed last time. He told me I should be thankful Dad didn't send me to Mom's side of the family. You didn't say anything then either." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I wasn't really mad at her, not deep down. She might have wanted to be a good person once, but in that house, being good just made you different. And being different wasn't safe, not if you were Denise's kid. She just turned around and walked away without saying a word. I looked back at my list. The surround sound speakers were next. Last summer, Ryan sat inside complaining that I was making too much noise when I was running wires through the walls for 2 whole days. He then bragged to his friends that his setup was better than a movie theater. After carefully disconnecting and coiling each cable, I put the speakers back in the boxes I'd been saving in the garage. It was mine because I installed it and paid for it. The security was simple. I installed every camera, got the admin login, and owned the subscription. With one click on my phone, I disconnected it from the network. Every camera blinked twice, then died. I wiped all the video files just to be safe. That's when Dad finally clued in that something was up. Then bam, the front door swung open and I heard him. He was halfway through a roll, like he'd totally forgotten he was even eating it, just slowly walking out. "Andrew, what's going on?" I didn't turn around right away. I was wrestling with this new garden hose I'd bought. Their old one had been leaking for 2 years, can you believe it? I answered without looking at him. "I'm taking my stuff back," I said. "Time I stopped pretending I belong here." He just stood there, quiet. Then that sound, that familiar groan he makes when he wants to avoid something. "This isn't necessary," he mumbled. "Let's not make a scene." I stood up straight and looked him in the eye. "You think this is a scene? What Ryan said earlier wasn't a scene. And Denise cutting me out of family photos year after year, forgetting my birthday, telling the caterer I wasn't even invited. That's not a scene, Dad. This is me finally saying something." He just stared at me like I was the problem, like I was overreacting. I gave a little smile. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna smash anything. I'm just taking what's mine and then I'm out of here." I really did. I spent the next hour dismantling the patio lights I'd put up like 2 years ago. Denise wanted a sleek, modern look, so she yanked the smart TV off the living room wall. I even took out the generator I'd bought when the power went out the year before. Everything was on my dime. They never even said thank you for any of the little things they'd gotten used to. Ellie didn't come outside again. Ryan didn't lift a finger to help. Denise, she just stood there at the kitchen window, arms crossed, her face blank. She didn't look mad. She looked annoyed, like I was messing up her lunch. Once the car was packed, I shoved the last box into the trunk. It was the Easter centerpiece I'd made myself with porcelain eggs and wood. Denise, after telling a neighbor how much she loved it and calling it charming, told me not to bring anything so old-fashioned next time. But I took it anyway. Nothing with my mark on it stayed there. I heard the front door open again as I was closing the trunk. This time it was Ryan. He didn't yell. He didn't even smile. Just stood there with a Coke, leaning on the railing, and yelled, "You really think anyone's gonna miss you?" I looked right at him and rolled down the window a bit. "Nope," I said, "but they'll miss what I brought." The house got smaller in the rearview mirror as I pulled away. The house I used to think I belonged in. That house, it had a way of just taking and taking, but never giving back. I never would have guessed what would happen after I left, after I finally drove away. It took all of 3 days before I got my first message. It wasn't from Ryan or my dad, but from Denise. The text was short, cold, and to the point. "Hey, the thermostat isn't working. Can you check it? The house is freezing." I didn't answer. Instead, I took a screenshot, saved it, and just went on with my life. See, what Denise and the others didn't get was how much I actually handled in that place. The smart thermostat system was registered under my name. The app they used to control the temperature from their phones. Yeah, that was all through my account. I set up the devices, got the Wi-Fi working, and kept the router updated. Ryan loved to brag about my work and how much money it saved them, all the while gushing about how fancy their house was. My phone buzzed again later that day. This time it was Ellie. "Hey, the TVs aren't working. Did you cancel something?" I thought about responding. Ellie was the closest anyone got to treating me like a person. But then I remembered all the times she looked away when Denise would say something nasty to me, and how she'd laugh, even if it was a little uncomfortable whenever Ryan was being a jerk. I didn't owe them a single thing. So I logged into all my streaming accounts, Netflix, Hulu, the whole shebang, and kicked them off every device. New passwords, two-factor authentication, the works. The next morning, the group chat was blowing up. "Andrew, why are the lights flickering?" Ryan messaged. "Dude, what's going on? My Xbox is offline. Did you screw with the Wi-Fi?" Denise chimed in. "This is childish. We get your point. Just stop it already." I stayed silent, not a chance. I wasn't ready to talk. Instead, I did something else. I called the guy who'd helped me install that backup generator last year. It was a hefty price tag, almost $5,000, but I put it on my card and paid it off little by little. They never even said thanks after it kept their house bright during that blackout last December while the whole neighborhood was dark. I still remember that. "I'm moving," I told the contractor, "and I need the generator moved too." "No problem," he said. "I might be able to send someone over by Friday." When the electrician showed up, they were still arguing at the front door. Ryan tried to stop him. "Hey, you can't just take that. This is our house." But the paperwork was crystal clear. My name on the purchase receipt, my billing address on the installation contract. I carefully took the clipboard off the truck and set the generator down. Ryan was in the driveway, yelling at me. It was almost a gift from the universe to see him freaking out like a little kid who didn't get his way. That night, I finally texted back. At 11:47 p.m., one message popped up in the group chat. "Don't worry, I'm just doing what you guys showed me, taking care of my own stuff." After that, I just shut the whole conversation down, but the after effects lingered. A week went by. I was focused on my own projects. I finally got that espresso machine I'd been wanting, redid my room, and bought some new furniture. Things felt easier, more relaxed. Then out of the blue, something weird happened. My dad called. Not sure what to do, I just stared at the screen. He usually didn't call. He usually left all the family stuff to Denise or Ellie. Still, more because I was curious than anything else, I picked up. And then he went on. "Andrew, we need to talk." His voice sounded different. Not angry, not like he was ordering me around, just tired. "About what?" I asked. He sighed. I didn't realize how much you were doing for this family," he admitted quietly. "I guess I let some things go that I shouldn't have." I just stayed quiet, letting the silence hang there. "I was wondering," he said, "if you could at least send me a new Wi-Fi password." Ryan's having trouble with his work stuff. I let out a little silent chuckle. I wasn't even angry. It was almost funny. I said, "I'm not your IT guy, Dad. I used to be your son." It didn't mean a thing, really. He just froze. I could hear him breathing all ragged. "Is this really how you want to do this?" I asked myself. "Nah," I mumbled back, "but that's how he's done things for years." Then I hung up. That night, I went through all my bills, utilities, insurance, the whole shebang. I scrubbed his details off, every single one. Water, electricity, auto-pay, poof. I kept the basic service, though. No fancy savings plans, no perks, just like everyone else. Let him call and sit on hold for hours, I figured. That'd be the end of it. But 2 days later, a letter. Not an email, a real, honest-to-goodness letter. Thick envelope, my name all fancy-like. Inside, a note in my dad's handwriting. It started, "Andrew, I know I haven't been the father you needed." I didn't finish it right away. Holding that letter, I thought about all those years trying to win over a family that never even tried to meet me halfway. I was about to rip it up when I saw something else tucked inside. A check for $700, exactly what I'd spent on Easter dinner. I just stared at it. Then it hit me. They were scared, not just about losing their services, not just the hassle. They were really scared. They were freaked out because I was showing them what it felt like to vanish, and for once I'd stopped begging to be noticed. I sat there a long time, staring at that check. It wasn't about the money, never was. Compared to the thousands I'd shelled out over the years on presents, gadgets, home stuff, and bills, that $700 was peanuts. Still, something inside me just stopped when I saw it laid out like that. Written in my dad's super neat handwriting. It was the first time anyone in that house had ever tried to pay me back. Just a deal, a number, and no feelings or any sorry. It was cold, but also eye-opening because I knew my exact worth to them. $700. Not a penny more. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I went to my kitchen drawer, grabbed an old envelope, and put the check and the unopened letter inside. I needed to remember, so I tucked it away with my tax stuff. Not because I'm all mushy, but as a real sign of how far I'd come and that I wasn't going backward. The next week, I got a call from Ellie. I didn't pick up at first. Let it go to voicemail. The next day, she tried again. Then the day after that, finally, on the fourth try, I answered. She talked softly, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to speak to me. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything." I didn't say anything, not yet. What she meant by everything was what I wanted to know. "I didn't stick up for you. I let Ryan run his mouth at you like that, and Mom treating you like hired help. I always knew it was messed up, but I figured it wasn't my job to intervene. It was just easier to stay out of it, you know? But I saw them after you were gone, Andrew. It was like something shattered. Everything felt raw, silent. Even. Ryan actually shut up for once. I still hadn't answered her, she pointed out. Read your old message, the one in the group chat. The one where you said you were just doing what they taught you, taking care of what was yours. I think that hit harder than you thought it would. When I finally said it wasn't supposed to be all dramatic, it was just the truth, she sighed. Yeah, that's what stings the most. We were quiet for a while then, not awkward, just honest. She went on to say they were talking about selling the house. That got me sitting up straight. What? Yeah. Dad says it's too much work to keep up now. The heat's a wreck, the yard's a mess, and well, Denise is mortified. She had guests over last week, and the lights flickered during lunch. Ryan lost a freelance job because the internet died during a call. So I said, slow and careful, now that things are a hassle, they want to bail. She didn't argue. They don't even get it wasn't the stuff you took that broke the house, I said. It was the foundation. I know, she mumbled. That's why I'm not calling for them. After a bit, she said something that surprised me. I want to stay in touch. I'm done with Denise's side of the family. Man, I miss my brother, my real brother. For years, it felt like I was yelling into a void. This person, my sister, she was barely whispering back, and it hit me way harder than I expected. So quietly I said, show me, don't just tell me, prove it with actions. And she did. To her credit, Ellie started coming over once a week. Sometimes she'd bring dinner. Other times we'd just sit and chat. We started with easy stuff, books, TV shows, you know. But slowly we got deeper. She opened up about how much pressure she was under to be the perfect daughter for Denise growing up. All that family drama, pretending it was normal, it was exhausting. Every time she laughed at Ryan's stupid jokes, just to avoid being his next target, it killed her inside. I told her how I spent my whole 20s thinking I had to do more to earn her love. Every bill I paid, every problem I solved, every gift I gave, I thought that would finally make me feel like family. Then it finally clicked. I didn't need to earn anything. Leaving was the only way to realize I was always enough. The rest of the family, same old story. Denise kept pretending everything was fine, posting those perfect pictures on Facebook. Oh, she's just going through a phase, she told her friends. Ryan tossed out some online jabs about my siblings being unappreciative and dramatic, but he knew better than to include me. Dad called a bunch of times. I just let it go to voicemail. Sometimes he'd leave these long, rambling texts. Other times I'd listen, but I wouldn't reply. Just a quiet wish in my head that he was doing all right, you know? To actually break the silence of all those years, I needed more than just messages and money. My old electrician, the guy who'd taken out the generator, emailed me about 2 months after Easter. He said a realtor had contacted him about putting in a new generator at the same place. He wrote, "They're getting it ready to sell." Thought you should know, one time I just went and parked across the street and drove by. The house looked smaller somehow. The yard was a mess. The patio furniture was all weather-beaten. One of the garden statues I'd bought was knocked over by the wind. Nobody had bothered to fix it. There was a for sale sign in the front yard. Below it was a smaller sign that said price cut with the name of the real estate agent. I just stood there and looked for a while. Then something clicked, not because I was angry. It had been years since that house was a home, not for me, maybe not for anyone anymore. I had finally walked away from the show because that's all it ever was. Months went by. Ellie and I got closer. We started going on hikes, trading playlists, and even planned a weekend trip. Real memories built from scratch without perfect lighting or fancy food or fake smiles. Just us, you know, trying to build something real. I finally took that check out of the drawer. I didn't cash it, though. Instead, I put it in a frame. I hung it right above my desk to remember that the best reward I ever got wasn't about money. It was freedom, you know. Freedom from needing their approval, from chasing their affection, from shrinking myself just to fit into this messed-up idea. And I realized the family I always wanted wasn't the one I was born into. Standing in my own space, surrounded by stuff I picked and people who chose me too, that was it. After I stopped begging to be part of it all, I just built my own. And that was worth way more than $700.